Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Frost, for 5 minutes for his questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The D.C. Home Rule Act was passed in 1973 and established the 12 members of the D.C. Council in the chairman's position, all who serve 4-year terms. Each 4 years, elected officials make their case, and D.C. voters decide who represents them in which positions. A black man was lynched in broad daylight, and the Washington, D.C. City Council took action to make public safety work for everybody. And now Republicans on this committee are pissed about it. And I'm wondering what happened to the Republican Party. I thought this was the party of small government, yet here they are weaponizing this committee to overturn laws passed by duly elected officials of a city council. It's really interesting. And so today I've heard my Republican colleagues talk about the impact of gun deaths and violence in a local community, and it is great to hear the renewed interest in gun violence. You know, it's an important conversation that shouldn't be reserved for just this D.C. hearing. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record reports on gun deaths in Mississippi, Louisiana, and Wyoming, Republican-led states, by the way, the 3 states with the highest rates of gun deaths per 100,000 residents. And if we're going down this road, maybe we'll see the individuals of these Republican state legislatures here today, or here soon. This is a devastating reality, and I'm curious why there isn't equitable attention and outrage on gun deaths in these states as there is with what's going on in D.C. Recently, I'm seeing a trend where state and federal officials are deciding that they know best instead of respecting local control, and they want to impose their views on Americans across the country. And don't get me wrong, I don't agree with every local policy out there in the entire country, especially in my home state of Florida. But I respect that certain decisions are made under home rule, and when it comes to rolling back local policies that were democratically elected, decided, I just haven't heard a single rationale that I'm sympathetic to. Chairman Mendelson, I wanted to make something pretty clear. When you ran for office, you had to make the case to the D.C. voters that you were the best person to represent their interests, correct?
Correct.
When you were first elected to represent the residents of D.C., what'd you do when you ran for office? How'd you make your case to the voters in D.C.?
When I first ran for office, which was a while ago, I had been an advisory neighborhood commissioner, an elected commissioner from a neighborhood, and I ran principally on the platform that I was close to communities and understood grassroots and would be representative of them.
So you've been reelected many times because the people of D.C. support your policies and positions.
Correct.
I ask this because at the heart of today's hearing is a resolution introduced by Republican lawmakers that clearly interferes with democratically approved measures. To your knowledge, has Republican Representative Andrew Clyde from Georgia, who sponsored this bill, ever knocked doors in D.C. to make the case that he understands what D.C. voters want or need?
I'm unaware of him knocking on any doors.
Mr. Allen, are you aware of the representative who's sponsoring this bill knocking doors in D.C., speaking with members of city councils, holding roundtables, doing any kind of town halls to figure out what the citizens of D.C. need?
I'm unaware of any actions like that.
I'm unaware of any too, and I actually don't think they've happened at all. I think a lot of people find it very confusing that D.C. City Council passed legislation to address an issue impacting residents. And we have a D.C. City Council where officials have been representing voters long before Mr. Clyde or I were in Congress. And I don't pretend to know any better than Mr. Clyde what local measures D.C. needs. And that's what local government is all about. Some on this panel want to undermine the bipartisan principle of home rule to score political points, and I cannot support it. It's happening in my state of Florida right now, where the governor is abusing his power to overturn and target political enemies at the local level. I don't think that's freedom. I don't think that's liberty. I don't think it was the principles this country was founded on, and it's part of the reason why I am very against this measure. It's harmful to what's going across the country. This is not what needs to be happening right now in terms of D.C. We need to be talking about statehood, which is something that the residents of D.C. actually want, not this type of legislation.
Will the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Will the gentleman yield?
I yield.